It is Thursday, January the 12th, 2023. This is episode 91 of the Human Hope Podcast. I am your host, Carlos Enrique with the Guzman Chabel Cabello, and I got one single question for you. Y'all ready for this? Here we go. Bounce. Yeah. We are back. We're starting week number 3 here in 2023. Oh, fam. Human Hope Familia. Y'all, you're going to be thanking me till the cows come home. Is that, I mean, what's that saying? How's that saying? You're just going to be thanking me for today's conversation. Yes, conversation with more than just me. I mean, last week y'all got me. This week you got me and your soon-to-be new friend, Cheryl. Can you say it together? Say it with me. Hi, Cheryl. We're going to be talking to my friend Cheryl today. I'm going to tell you more about her in just a second, but I just want to welcome you back to another episode of the Human Hope Podcast. This one is the epitome of what giving hope to humans is. And we're going to get into Cheryl's story in a moment. She is going to blow your mind with her wisdom, determination, grit, all of the things that if you feel like you're lacking in your life, this conversation is going to give it to you. But before we do that, I just want to say gracias. Listen, since last week's episode, you know, I'm in the grind, in it, hardcore. And when I say the grind, like, I mean, it is like everything. I mean, I mentioned some of this last week, you know, my whole conversation about turning 50, but like everything is changing, man. Everything is shifting. Everything is like, and then everything's coming like all to a head at one point. All of these like major life moments and shifts are happening and I'm feeling it. But not only that, but then like work is going great. For those of you that weren't on Instagram yesterday, I launched a tour with my great friend, Annie F. Downs. We are going on tour together in the month of June. And you're going to hear this podcast. And when you hear the podcast, if you hear it on Tuesday, on Thursday when it comes out, tickets will not have been publicly released to the general public yet. And so you're going to have an opportunity to buy tickets to this tour. It's called the Here For You Tour. And it's going to be a night where Annie and I are on stage together the entire time, literally having like culture shaping conversations, soul shifting conversations, joy producing conversations. We're going to think, we're going to cry, we're going to laugh, we're going to have fun at these nights. And I can't wait for us to get together. Now, all the cities are listed right now. If you go to, I'm going to go right now, hereforyoutour.com, and that didn't work. Okay. So if that didn't work, that's because I'm on my wrong browser. Hereforyoutour.com. Let me tell you the cities that we're going to and when. Okay. So real quickly, this is all in the month of June. We're doing 12 cities. June 8th, Minneapolis. That's where I'm going. It's a brand new city in the state of Minneapolis. Minneapolis, Minnesota, June 8th. June 9th, Grand Rapids, Michigan. June 10th, Indianapolis, Indiana. June 11th, Columbus, Ohio. June 14th, the next week of the tour, Charlotte, North Carolina. Then June 15th, New Albany, Indiana. June 16th, Chicago, Illinois. June 17th, did I say Illinois wrong? I see that every single time. June 17th, Florence, Kentucky. We ain't leaving y'all out. Florence, okay. Then the next week, June 22nd, Kansas City, Missouri. June 23rd, Dallas, Texas. June 24th, Austin, Texas. And June 25th, Houston, Texas. That is what the secret announcement I've been hanging on to. I know some of you know, but for those of you that don't, right now is the time that you're going to want to go to get the tickets. Now, listen, these tours they're going to sell out. So I'm just recommending, okay, this podcast is going to come out and then I'm not going to be able to update this podcast, but I'm recommending if you have the capacity to purchase your tickets now, you're going to want to be able to purchase the tickets you want to purchase. We have 3 different options of tickets. Okay. There's a general admission ticket, which gets you in and your soul is going to be filled to be in the room with all of this Insta Familia, Human Hope listeners, Annie's listeners. It's going to be a great night. But then there's a post party with me. And that's a different level of ticketing. And at that one, you're going to get early access to get the best seats in the house. Trust me, this is going to be important. You're going to get a VIP kind of late night post party with me where we can hang out, take pictures, get to know each other, all that stuff. You're going to get a swag bag as well. And yeah, I mean, it gives you access to so much more. So there's an option for that. And then if you want to hang out with Annie and do the same thing, she's doing a pre-show party before the show. So it's like pre-show Annie. It's like, this is what you can do. You can buy the combo ticket with Annie and me, and you get in early. You can just buy with my post-show party, do that. Just buy Annie's party, do that. Or just buy general admission. We gave everybody access to what they want on this tour, and I'm so excited. We called it Here For You because we feel like you are always here for us, and we try to be here for you. And it's going to be a night that you're not going to want to miss. So those are the dates for that. Here's the kicker. In order to buy the tickets, you need an access code. You've probably been there and been like, Carlos, it's not working. There's an access code. This is the access code family. Okay. Use the access code family and you're going to be able to get tickets before Friday. If you don't use the access code family, you're going to have to wait until Friday to get tickets. And then you're going to get in the back of the line. We want you in the front line. We've already sold way more tickets than we expected. Okay. And it's just the end of night one. So fam, come on, jump on the Here For You tour. It is going to be a blast. I can't believe that I'm doing this. This is something I've dreamed of, headlining a tour where I get to go and just encourage and pour hope into a community. And these nights we're not only going to be pouring into the community in the room, we're going to find ways to pour into your local communities because that's what the Insta Familia and the Human Hope Familia does well. And so this is going to be different than anything you've experienced. Trust me, it's going to be amazing. So head to hereforyoutour.com. Make sure that you do that. And then here's the other thing that you guys have helped me with. I mean, I just want to keep updating you. Okay. Updates. Let me get deep into my heart here. I worked so hard on my upcoming book, How to Human. Do I have a copy around me? I just got my first copies in the mail. I worked so hard on it. So of course I wanted to get to as many people as possible. You guys have already purchased so many and pre-ordered. And I'm so grateful. Pre-orders give life to a book and allow the distributors and the retailers to order more books so that they can get them in front of more people. And this book, I worked really hard from the beginning or maybe the middle of November up until January, this last Saturday, right? January 7th or 6th or something, 8th. And I was so proud. We'd sold 2,050 books. Okay. That's a lot of books. Most books that don't sell more than 500 in the entirety of their life. Okay. And I've had books like that. See Moment Maker, my first book, didn't sell a lot. Sold a little more than 500, but not a lot. And I know how important pre-orders are. And so I said, Human Hope Family, will you help me? And I did we've got a live experience that's happening. We have a lot coming up. And the fact that we sold 2,050 pre-ordered books, my publisher they were freaking out. They were pumped. Here's the deal. Sunday morning, I woke up and announced that Sharon McMahon wrote the foreword. Okay. You heard it here. Sharon McMahon wrote the foreword. And also she read the foreword in my audiobook. And Sharon posted that on her story, along with about 7 other slides telling people to buy the book. Now, let me tell you where my heart was. I know what happens when Sharon tells her people to buy books. Like, I just know. I know what happens when I tell my people in Familia to buy books. When I told my people in middle December to pre-order the book, we got like another bump of like 700 orders in 24 hours. And that pushed my book up to like number 400 overall on planet Earth. Okay. There's, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of books out there. It was number 400 and it was number 1 in all my categories. So I knew that when she did that, it had to have done it, but Amazon would not update the ranking. And so all day long, it just kept showing 13,000 is my rank, 14,000 at my rank. And I'm like, what is happening? And I was so frustrated because I was like, well, maybe nobody trusts Sharon to buy my book. Maybe nobody likes me. And then I had to enter into this space of like, do these numbers really matter to you, Carlos? More than like the fact that there's already 2,050 people that are going to hopefully have their lives changed because of what you have written. Where is your identity? And it was, I'm just going to be vulnerable for a second. It was a come to Jesus moment. And so after I prayed about it yesterday, so we're talking Wednesday, Tuesday, because I'm recording this on Wednesday. I felt like the Lord was like, stop, I'm going to put the book in the people's hands and needs to get put into. So I really kind of forgot about Sunday and sharing and all the things. I knew that people bought the books. I just didn't know how many. And then today I got an email from my publisher, my marketing girl, Rachel. She's been amazing over at Waterbrook. And Rachel let me know that in the course of 24 hours from Sunday morning to Monday morning, when Amazon was giving me no data whatsoever, Sharon and her governors, as they're called, bought 2,100 books. So suddenly my pre-orders went from 2,000 to 4,100. And I freaked out because the goal was 3,000. I still have 2 weeks more before launch. I'd love to get to 5,000 now. I'm just bumping it up. Let's just keep going. Once you hit that 5,000 pre-order threshold, now you're starting to be possibly considered to be on some lists, the Reader's Digest list, the Wall Street Journal list. I've never been on a list. This is my fifth book. Never been on a list. Guess what? I always say it every time. I don't care about being on a list. And I try to say that because I don't want to get my hopes up. But to be honest with you, it would be cool because then more people could see it. And when you hit that threshold, you're starting to get into that level. So, what do I say? I would love to get to 5,000, and that puts me in some pretty small company with just pre-orders. That's before the book even goes on sale. So that's where I'm at. And I tell you all of this because I know you care. You listen to the podcast and you care about this stuff because I care about this stuff. And I just want to let you know kind of where my heart was up and then down and then up again. And it probably is going to go back down again. So be it the life of an author or of any creative that is launching anything. You know, my friend, Mike Foster, this intro was a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but I felt like you guys needed it, especially because some of you don't follow me on Instagram. You're not on the email list. And this is how I communicate with you. So I want you to get the story here before we get in the conversation. But my friend, Mike Foster, let's see, Mike Foster, I think is .tv, maybe. Yeah. So my friend Mike posted something the day that I was crushed that Amazon wasn't updating my rankings. And let me tell you what he posted. Listen to this. This may be the end of the podcast for some of you. Some of you may have just come here to hear these words from my friend Mike, who is one of the most talented, creative thought leaders out there. Some thoughts on those who try. And you guys know Mike because I've already talked about Mike. Like I've used a lot of his content already about worry on this podcast. Mike just needs to be on here. Here we go. This is what he wrote. Some thoughts on those who try. Yesterday, I was forced to cancel my strongest couples workshop. Why? I had only one sign up. Only one. And frankly, I'm embarrassed. I promoted it. I invited lots of friends. Hundreds of people checked out the webpage. My wife and I had all the food and special surprises all planned out. We were pumped, but still no one signed up. I feel embarrassed, irritated, and frustrated with myself. I'm second guessing my work and my message a bit. My confidence is rattled. This is what happens when things like this happen. I only share this because if you're a person who puts things out into the world, you probably have experienced this type of failure too. And when it happened, you wanted to hide it away so you wouldn't look bad or embarrassed. I mean, is he not preaching right now? For example, the book you published that didn't sell, the event you hosted that a few people came to, the dream business that closed 2 years later, the poem you wrote that no one understood, that sure thing investment that collapsed, your vulnerable IG post that went unnoticed. We're so good at looking successful, but hate having mud on our face. But failure is a sad cruelty of life. And honestly, we should share more of these moments and a little less of our highlight. Then we wouldn't feel so alone in our failure. If we didn't hide the things that didn't work, we would feel more connected, sort of like we've joined a family of people who tried stuff and it just didn't work. And the fact we tried makes us braver than those who didn't. Speak it, preach it, Mike. Not better, just braver. And friends, that's something to be proud of. So let's keep trying and then trying some more, because that's what success in life is all about. By the way, I'm doing another Strongest workshop on March 10th and 11th because I'm going to keep trying. Mike, thank you for those words. And honestly, guys, go follow at Mike Foster 2000. If there was a person that I would go to with my problems, because I've gone to him my whole life with my problems, it would be Mike Foster. If you want a stronger marriage, go to his Strongest workshop on March 10th and 11th. You can sign up on his website. You can find that website. It's mikefoster.tv. Mike, thank you for those words. Now let's transition into talk about stronger. One of the strongest people I know, Cheryl Nembhard. Cheryl, she's an award-winning filmmaker, playwright, and social advocate who uses her incredible talents in the arts to tackle some of the toughest societal topics. Cheryl is a godsend to my life because I have learned through her story that no matter where I am, I can get back up and there truly is hope. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to, I'm not even going to tell you any more about her story. I want her story to speak for itself. And what I want you to do, this isn't a note-taking episode. This is actually, I'm going to center myself to hear the story of a woman that had nothing to live for, but then decided to live. And when she decided to live, everything around her changed. And she's having impact in this world like you'd never believe. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, former gang member, former homeless, but now living a life of purpose and passion, Cheryl Nembhard. Here we go. All right, fam, we are here with my friend Cheryl, all the way from the other side of the border. Right. Cheryl, say hey to the Human Hope listeners.
Hey, what's up to all the human ambassadors? Can I call them that?
Oh, I like that. We can make some badges that say human ambassador.
I love it. Shout out to the human ambassadors all the way from Canada.
All the way from Canada. Cheryl, why don't you go ahead and just from your own words, let us kind of know where you're at in your story right now, meaning, what are you doing with your life? Like, I'm inspired by you every single day, be it through your podcast or TV show or Instagram or all the things, but you do a lot. Why don't you let us know a little bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an itinerant speaker, and I also host two podcasts. One is long form interview, a traditional podcast called On the Path that this incredible human ambassador had the privilege of having on my podcast. That was so great. And I also host a podcast that I felt was needed for now. It's actually a mini devotional. It's an experience. It's called Soul Food to Go. Get it?
Wow. I like that.
Soul Food to Go. It is 8 minutes or less. It is affirmations and scripture set to lo-fi music.
No way.
Wait for it. Layered in with sounds of nature. So it's this absolute experience.
I'm in.
When you just have a little minute, but you're like, I need a moment. I need a minute. Right? It's called Soul Food to
Go.
Yeah.
And how often does that one come out?
So those are sitting there. There's like 50 episodes.
Oh,
there.
Wow. Already there. You can just go and listen to.
And they're all based out of Psalms. That's kind of
that's awesome.
Grounding. And my show On the Path actually got picked up. So that's the television show reference you were speaking of, just for those that don't know. Yeah. But I think I want to just say the other thing that I do that I'm really excited about is that I'm executive director for Women Speaker Collective. I just wanted to give a shout out to them. This is a global network of thousands of women who have decided that the time for silencing and being marginalized or being told that our call is not good and holy.
Right.
That season is over. And
it's over.
We're done, y'all. So it's just like women in the front line, and it's unbelievable just what God's doing. It's just taking off, and it's global. So we're thankful.
I love it. Well, I actually do want, I think part of the passion behind what you do with women and having them share their story is directly tied into your story and your voice and having one, maybe at one point not having one. And, in this series of conversations I'm having with friends, I wanted to invite people that have spaces and moments in their lives where they were unseen and then they were seen. And really talking about the impact of what somebody finally seeing you actually did in your life. And so that's really where I want you to start.
Powerful.
Is I want you to start by telling us and take us back, because you have such a powerful story. Take us back to maybe the part of your journey where maybe you started to become invisible. Maybe you started to become unseen. And then I'm just going to kind of let you talk and take us through what it looked like for you to go from not being seen by others to seen by others.
Yeah, and in the not being seen, screams go unchecked and unheard, and the tears are misinterpreted for something else. And so as a child, from the ages 5 to 12, I was being brutally sexually abused, and here's the part that I don't leave out on purpose. I put it in on purpose.
Yeah.
Because I was hurt, I was wounded terribly by my Sunday school teacher.
Wow.
And the reason I leave it in is because I think that so many times we as humans on this journey of life have been wounded, or many of us have been wounded by the church, and that becomes the thing.
Yep.
Of why they will never, right?
Right.
And why they're angry and so here is someone that you're about to hear a story.
Yeah.
And the genesis of it is deep church wounding.
Wow.
So I had all intentions. As Paul said, where there was Pharisees, I was the top sinner.
Yep.
Check. Like I had the list of all reasons to hate church.
Yes, absolutely.
And so from 5 to 12, that progress took place. And the only reason it stopped is here in Canada. I was a single parent child, no brothers, no sisters, no dad. And so very much a poster child, lived in government housing, struggling mom. She was a nurse, and just faithful, double shift, would sleep at the church, at the hospital to do whatever she needed to do to put food on the table. And in my community, I'm from the West Indies, so Caribbean. Shout out to anyone from the Caribbean.
Shout out.
Come on, man.
Let's go, man.
Let's go, man. Shout out to anyone from the Caribbean. Everyone is an auntie. Everyone's an uncle. It's this idea, this feeling of extended family. And so it wasn't just babysitting. You would sleep over at the babysitter. You would stay there. And so there was all that going on.
Yeah.
And the only reason that horrible moment stopped for me was because here in Canada, legally at 12, you can stay by yourself. And so that was major safety to my mom. But at about 11 and a half, I had summed up the bravery. And this is that moment that so many of us are scraping and kicking to be seen.
Yes.
To be heard. And sometimes that motion, that journey to be heard takes a lot to get there. And for some, it's just like a divine moment. For me, I was scraping and screaming to be heard. Yeah. And my cries were just unnoticed. I summed up the bravery to tell my mom of what was going on. It was one of those typical nights.
At 11 and a half.
11 and a half. So I'll just take you back. 11 and a half. I'm being packed up, grab your stuff, grab this, grab your, we're going to so-and-so's house. I have a night shift what I need to get ready for. So I knew it was an overnight. Yeah. And I had just, when you've just hit the wall. It was the straw that broke my back. And I literally had a meltdown, a fit. I was screaming, crying. It was unlike anything. It was so outside of my character. But so many times people don't want to see the soul of the person. They just look at this behavior that is seemingly right. And that's all they can see. So my mom just saw I was being disobedient and I was all the negative things. I was causing trouble, whatever. I finally told her what was going on and tried to explain why I was hyperventilating and did not want to go. The blood it looked like the blood had drained from my mom's face. Wow. She was shocked. She couldn't even breathe.
You told her everything.
I told her everything I could in between, like gasping breaths of why I didn't want to go and what they were doing to me. My mom, I don't think we ever got together quick enough ever. And it was like flying down that highway. And I'm going to tell you in that moment, it's so important. I thought rescue. I felt my chest lightening. Wow. I felt the weight on my back being released just because someone had heard my cry.
Wow.
And I got to that home and my mom in like full bluster tornado just woke up everyone. But the story, unfortunately, takes a very dark, painful turn.
Wow.
And this is a moment that when I talk to women, even to this day, Carlos, and I ask them, what's worse than assault? What's worse than, sexual violations? It's not being believed, which is why the whole Me Too movement was even birthed. Right?
Yeah.
And it was listen to these lies from this girl. Listen to what she said. You tell them what you said about them. These good Christian, upstanding, all the positions in church people.
Yeah.
And then my mom left me there.
Really?
And you will not know, I couldn't even try to tell you, as horrific as my abuse was, you wouldn't know what those last 6 months were, having told on my abusers in front of my abusers.
Wow.
And breaking that code of silence, like, all the threats of if you say this will happen and that. And so the last 6 months were horrible. To this day, I have some physical things that I still deal with around that.
Wow.
So 12, here I am at 12.
So your mother, she didn't believe you?
Did not believe me.
Wow.
And not only did not believe me, and I know that this is so familiar and painful for some people. So I do just want to check in and say that, we'll walk through this together because I'm with you. It wasn't just, I don't believe you, but how dare you? You're bringing shame to the family. You're overreacting. You're full of lies. I can never trust you. This is what you do. You're ruining good relationships. Do you know what these people have done?
Yeah.
And how all that stuff. And, in the West Indian culture, as many cultures, it's all about optics and looks and appearances, right? And having it all together. And so at the age of 12, finally, just to save a ton of money, and because I just kept pushing, and now I'm rebelling. I'm not going to stop. I'm acting out in school. I'm fighting. It's misplaced anger and hurt and stuff. And so it's just, stay home. Just stay home anyway. So hurt left unchecked. I want to give a quick math I put together. Hurt left unchecked, unresolved, unprayed through, unworked through, whatever, morphs into anger.
Wow.
And anger left unchecked, unresolved, therapized, morphs into bitterness, this root of bitterness. You were angry at the world.
Yeah.
Just bitter. And what's interesting about that is because after in my life, when I started to work with at-risk youth, I recognized to look past anger and see woundedness.
Yeah.
Around the corner, the little wounded child behind the swings and the yells and the swears. And I think so many people don't have the time to go past the first layer of the story.
Gosh, it's so true.
They don't have the time, the energy, the bandwidth. They don't have the attention span. They don't have the compassion to dig past the first layer. So if they're getting pushback, if they're getting animosity or whatever that negative thing is, they're like, you know what? Meanwhile, that wounded, bleeding person it's just hurt left unchecked. It's hurt left unhealed, unresolved.
Wow.
And so just to fast forward, as they say, hurt people from the age of 12 to 16, I joined a gang.
Really?
Yes. I don't even, if I had a t-shirt, Carlos, listen, I'll make one.
Make one. We'll wear it together.
Here's what it will say. I don't look like what I've been through.
Wow.
I
don't look like what I've been through. Okay.
Come on, somebody.
Okay.
And I know that's someone's testimony, right? I do not look like what I've been through.
Wow.
And so I joined a gang. And I joined a gang because gangs felt like family. And I just want to give context here because I think so much so many times we make these quick judgment calls on what we're seeing, right? Angry, bitter youth, violent, no, shattered, wounded, hurting.
Yeah.
In a gang, no, needs family, does not have family structure at home, needs belonging. Gangs felt like belonging, Carlos.
Wow. Can you tell me, can I pause in there for a second? Just for, remember where we're at, but just for context for somebody that's like, okay, I don't even know what that means. Like a gang, like I've only seen a gang in a movie maybe, or like are at 12 years old or 13 years old. Like, how does one even become a member of a gang?
Well, there's gangs in in the low income government housing.
Oh, okay. Yep. There we go.
There are gangs all the time. I mean, it's territorial. It's groups of people. It's misfits, and there are older people that run it, and sometimes adults that are behind. Where there's money being made. And for little kids, little girls like me, we could be distractions. And so there was back in the day, in my day, we had something called swarming. And so we would distract storekeepers and so and pretend that we're doing something else when things are being stolen. And so we always ran interference.
Okay.
And it just rebellious, stealing, breaking and entering.
But you're doing it with other people, so it makes you feel like you belong.
Yes.
Yeah.
And while you're there, no one's going to touch you. You're protected. There's people that understand you. They all come from broken homes.
Right.
It just, and I think that was the piece that I've learned when now on the other end, sitting with someone that I get it. There's no judgment. I get it. You did not feel a healthy family structure at home. You felt alone.
Right.
And this feels like your brotherhood.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem. And so, I rolled with that gang for a few years, and I became the worst bully, like a documented bully.
Really?
Oh my goodness. When I became, kicked out and suspended and all the things. But what's funny is, after years in ministry, fast forward, now I won't lose my spot.
Sure.
Sitting at an altar call, now a minister.
Oh my goodness.
And opening my arms, true story, at an altar call to receive a young girl that's coming up, because I do all this ministry.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to come to me. The usher is like, go. She's like shaking her head. No way. I could see the kerfuffle going on. So I'm smiling, bands playing, big song, right? It's a big moment.
Come on.
Praise and worship, everything's slowing down. And I'm like, come on. And I've never seen it. I will never forget this moment. And she's in my church today. So And so she came up and she was like, you don't remember me, do you? And I was like, hi, no, God loves you. She was like, you were my bully. All of high. Yeah. Oh man.
Wow.
That's so many of those. Anyways, but here we are.
Yes. Wow. Here we are. Wow. That's amazing.
Here we are, right? On the other side of being seen by God. And seen by others. And so at 16, unfortunately, some male members of the gang turned on me. There was an incident that happened, and I unfortunately was assaulted by some members of the gang. And that sent me into a spiral. My mom had found me and took me to the hospital, and I was there for a day or two. And unfortunately, in a toxic relationship that I had with her, that that God has healed in a good measure. I mean, we're not doing each other's hair and braiding and watching Gilmore's. But we're healed. But it was, you brought this on. This is your fault. It was that unfortunate situation. And again, feeling that woundedness of not being believed. And so at 16, I just kind of snapped. And for 3 years, I lived on and off the street. I ran away, lived on and off the street, downtown Toronto, and just did whatever I had to do to survive, and hung out with people. And it's a whole community down there, and in and out of shelters, and wherever and whenever. And if I came home, I came home. And if I left, I left. It was really a nightmare for my mom. I mean, we physically fought. I I was a ticking time bomb of just having, at this point, being used and abused and feeling so discarded.
Yeah.
And around 19 years old, a street evangelist named Christos, unbelievable, still know him till this day, saw me and looked past the wound, looked past the anger, looked past the pushback, looked past what I was wearing, what I was doing, where I was, and saw a human.
Wow.
Saw a soul that was just broken, and literally spent almost 6 months just talking to me. Just a hot chocolate, a donut. After would be like, hey, do you need $20? What do you need?
Yeah. And
didn't even realize that every moment that he just sat with me was taking a layer off of callous, of bruising. And here's the kicker, and I'll stop here for a minute. Never preach the gospel.
Wow.
But fully Christian. And this is where I feel like you're going to get so let up, because this is where you are.
Yeah. He
was the gospel personified. Didn't feel yet to bang it in my head.
Right.
But just sat with me. Sometimes, in silence, sometimes like me venting of why I hate God and hate Christians, and just listening. But he sat there, hot chocolate, donut, and loved on me until the layers finally came down enough that he could ask when he just saw a moment, an opportunity. I talked about gospel music and choir music and how much I love to sing. And he was like, hey, there's a really cool service. It's kind of like a casual, like youth service on Sunday nights. And, they're going to have a great choir. And maybe, and that was I was like, I didn't even realize that he was affiliated with the church, but I felt God's love all the way through.
Wow. And that was and I remember when I was on your podcast and you shared just a glimpse of that story. And that was the part that you shared, was that there was a man who was a Christian, was a Jesus follower, but actually the only thing you knew about him was that he saw you. And so he would serve you. He would serve you. He would hot chocolate and donuts. Like there it is, like that you don't need to go to seminary to figure out how to do that.
Come on, listen, when I go to speak, I say, hey, do you want to hear the most powerful sermon that changed my life? Yeah. And everyone's like, yeah, give it to me. And I'm like, the book of hot chocolate, chapter donut, verse $20.
That's it.
Changed my life. It was intention. It was the intentional outworking of what this person believed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, gosh. Okay. So yeah, let's sit here for a second, because I mean, anybody that knows me or follows me on Instagram knows that like that is where I sit right now in the ministry that God has given me. It is, it may not be the book of hot chocolate. It may be but it may be the book of $20, or it may be the book of whatever it is. Right. And just for the, maybe the not hyper is a bad word, for maybe the person that has grown up in an evangelical climate that was just told that, listen, in order to be a good Christian, you have to be evangelizing, you have to be, sharing scripture, you have to be all these things. Like, just give us a little bit more encouragement that it's not just about preaching or having these eloquent 3-point sermons or all these things. Just hammering a little bit harder how easy it is to truly be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah. I put it this way, I want to just issue a challenge to every believer and church leader and people of all walks of life that are listening, that, we're being asked to do something very simple. I think we have overcomplicated the gospel.
Yeah.
And I think we're being asked to do something simple, and that is armed with the love of God, fueled with compassion. We are being called to sit in the story of people. And to do that, here's the kicker, when maybe the church is not the main character. Can you do that?
Wow.
Can you sit in the story and be in the story of someone's life when the church might be the villain?
Yeah.
Moment.
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus did. He sat in the stories of people and he listened and he communed and he lived among them. And then when he fed and he met the needs and then gave the gospel. And so in sitting in my story and letting it come out as like painfully leak out of all of the bruised pores.
Yeah.
In time, he found the window, and I feel like he was led by the surgeon himself. It was like, cut, remove, cut, open up. Now you're here at the organ.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Cheryl, that is, whew. It's just so powerful. And I think where I'd love for you to lean into now, as I know there's so many of my listeners, so many that they can't fathom going back to church. They can't fathom because the wounds that the church has, people in the church, leaders in the church, that have abused them or have, all these things. Like, here you are. You literally had a Sunday school teacher that was the beginning of your, of the darkest season of your life. Help them. Just give them a little bit more. I see you. And I understand that maybe this isn't something that can just happen overnight for you. And I don't think it did happen overnight for you either. But give us some encouragement. Give those listeners that are listening right now that are like, Cheryl, I mean, that's great that you were able to step back into church again, but I just don't know if I ever can. Talk to them for a second.
Yeah. I used to always say growing up, like, I felt like, I remember one time it was like, what is a Christian? It's like, well, it's a person, or it's a human that follows Christ. And I'll tell you something, as simple as that was, it's what saved me, because I made the decision at some point in my life around 19, when I was given that opportunity to go to that church. And I remember it was like a circus. Yeah. Literally, there was a couple of prostitutes. I'm talking like, a trans person, like drag queen, drug addict. We're all heading to church.
Heading to church.
It was the best. Sunday night service, youth service. And there we were, and this divine life-changing encounter. And I had a choice to make. And the choice I made saved my life. I separated the Christ from the Ian part.
Wow.
From the human part. Like the human that follows Christ. I separated that. And I realized that what has happened to me, and I feel like this is just for someone to get a hold of it, is not a reflection of who God is.
Wow.
It is a reflection of who man is.
Yes.
And in Christianity, I had to separate the Christ from all of it. Yeah. And say, is what happened to me a direct reflection of this person I know, who loves and cares and is forever gracious, kind, forgiving, merciful? No. So we are flawed. We are messed up. We are jacked up. We screw it up. We mess it up. I tell you, we are false advertisers of this thing called the gospel. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, if there was lawsuits to be handed out, we would all get them.
Wow.
But what saved me was separating and I still separate in my heart. Yeah. Even though I'm physically among the people, when things happen, because church is if we understand that church is a hospital, right? It's filled with sick people. Yeah. Sick people make mistakes. Yeah. Sick people drop stuff. They fall off the bed. They mess up stuff. They're loud. They're noisy. Like, it's just, they don't get it right all the time. Yeah. But I had to separate and say, I serve a God who is compassionate, loving, merciful, and kind. Yeah. And in community, I am surrounded with some pretty messed up sick people. Wow. Who get it sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. And it's so true. And I'm one of those as well. Like, people that listen to my podcast know that, like, I go to a large evangelical church here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the South, in the Bible Belt of America. I run camera number 5 and a lot of people tell me all the time, Carlos, you're the last Christian that I follow on Instagram. You're the last, because they have been so wounded. But my story, although different, is
is one of realizing and getting to the point that Christian, you're right. I love that. Chop the IAN off of Christ and focused on the Christ. Just focus on him and let him be the restorer and let him be the one that brings you back to where you need to be. So that's just so powerful. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. We cling to the Christ of Christianity, but we take a beat from all the other things.
Yeah. Take a beat. No, I love that. Be human who you were, see humans. Talk about where and how you finally found that freedom. The last step is free humans, right? And so how is it that even now, as you're successful, beautiful, all these things are coming to you, it's not like all your problems went away. It's not like you're just living this happy-go-lucky life now, and like you still have to choose to find freedom every single day. So talk to us a little bit about how you stay free, in your humanity, how you stay free in spite of all of the drama and trauma that's going to continue to try to oppress you. What are some keys that you're finding on staying free as a human?
Yeah. One of the biggest things, I think, number one at the top of the list is I have learned to develop a rhythm of forgiveness.
Wow.
A constant flowing rhythm of forgiveness. I have to allow it to flow off my back. If I held on to every wound, big and small, every mistake, every offense, it would weigh me down so heavily that I would be lying to myself trying to navigate, this thing called life. I've as I have been forgiven of drug addiction, of living on the streets, of, I've done it all. I mean, if you asked, just think about it. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I, who have been forgiven of all of that, I must forgive. So it has been this incredible healing thing. I want you to imagine the wounds and the mistakes of others, instead of them being this heavy hammer that breaks bones and shatters.
Yeah.
Imagine that it's now water.
Wow.
Imagine it's water. I dare you to try to hold on to water and to keep it.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
You can't.
You can hold it for a minute, but eventually it'll slip through.
Yeah.
Because we're not meant to hold on to woundedness. We're not meant to hold on to the things that have happened to us at 10, at 17, at 20. I feel like right now, even in this moment, you are being asked again by that pricking of your heart to let it go. You are holding people hostage, but at the end of the day, you're the prisoner.
Yeah.
We are the prisoner. We hold someone else hostage, but what we've done is we've locked ourselves into a prison of bitterness, of resentment, and they become the gatekeepers.
Wow. A rhythm of forgiveness. That is, put that on a t-shirt too. So that can be on the second t-shirt that we make together.
And you know what we'll say? We'll say, I am flowing in a rhythm of forgiveness.
Oh, let's go. Have you ever done, I mean, you're a communicator. Have you ever actually given an example with water in your hands? The whole time you're talking, I'm imagining wow, that is powerful. You can only hold water for so long, and then it's going to get out.
Right.
Right.
But we're so desperate to hold on to things. We have to, because we need evidence to prove why we're being bitter and angry. But at the end of the day, literally that thing is gone. It's just remnants that are left, but we are the ones stuck.
Yes. Oh, that is so good. I thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's a very powerful story. I'm a big believer that testimony is much more powerful than a sermon. Yeah. And, you just preached 1,000 sermons to a lot of people that are listening right now. Let's for just a second, as we close the conversation, I'd love for you to talk about, just a little bit about what you do with helping and coaching women tell their story and communicate. And I just think this is it's one of the coolest things that I know that you and our friend Danielle and, are a part of. My listenership is probably 80% females. And so, let's help them for a second, with what it is that you guys do.
Absolutely. And with your permission,
please.
I have a ministry that I feel would be really vital right now. May I just share it? Okay. So I run a 10-week emotional healing and soul care program.
Yes.
For people who are recovering from trauma, woundedness, especially around church hurt.
Yeah.
It's called the Lighthouse Project.
Okay.
Yes, you can find it. How? You can find it at lighthousecourse.com, literally. Okay. lighthousecourse.com.
Awesome.
And it will walk you through from self-identity, forgiveness, release, compassion, the self-talk that we give ourselves, how we numb ourselves to pain, how to recognize when we are checking out, going on autopilot, or when we have become hyper vigilant and oversensitive to what's going on. It's just so good. It's been literally passed through Christian therapists and psychologists and pastors. It's a video series. You can do it in the comfort of your home. So
I'm literally on the website right now as you were talking. I'm like, Lord, this is awesome. So yeah, everybody head over to that. That would be amazing.
You can see all the weeks there in the.
I see it right now. I mean, like, listen, podcast listeners, if Cheryl is resonating with you, at least go see what it is that she's doing. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And with Women Speaker Collective, if you're a female and you feel like God is calling you to tell your story, to speak, to lead, to teach, to step up to the plate in some way, we're an incredible organization of support. WomenSpeakerCollective.com. Check it out. And we have speaker boot camps everywhere, like literally everywhere. We have them in the UK, Australia.
Oh, okay.
All over the States. And they're for women that just want to develop the gift, that pricking in their heart to.
Yeah. I know personally, women that have gone through it, that have, it's changed the course and the confidence that they get. Like, I can tell taking this and going to this boot camp and post, like, they're completely different in their communication. So, listen to Cheryl communicate. Like, who wouldn't want to learn to communicate like you? That's amazing.
Oh, Carlos.
I'm gonna sneak in. I'm gonna buy myself a wig and I'm gonna sneak into that thing one day.
Stop it. No, you did it.
Oh, I love it.
Carlos, I love it. And, I just want to thank you for having me on, but I just feel like you're always so good for rallying. I just want to issue just a personal challenge for all of us listening, especially around, this beginning of the year, end of the year, going into the, just be willing to sit beside someone's story.
Yes. That's it.
And cut and allow the layers to fall off and be willing to stay as they do. Don't judge by those first 2 or 3 layers. So important. Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing all this. I literally am about to go bust through a brick wall right now. Like, I'm so pumped and hyped. Like, this is amazing. Thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Wow. What'd I say? Exactly what we needed today. Cheryl, thank you for going first. Cheryl, thank you for sharing your story and giving all of us hope. You guys, please go give her all the love. You can follow her on Instagram at Cheryl, that's CHERYL, Nembhard, NEMBHARD. Let her know how much you appreciated her story and how much you believe it's going to change the trajectory of your life. Well, that is it. I'm a little teary because it was so beautiful of a conversation. But we got to go. We got to do this. So, we got to queue up Dr. Delight himself. Y'all ready? Oh, there it is. All right, fam. That is it. Thanks for hanging out. Please, y'all know what to do. Rate, review the show, share the show. Your ratings are hyper important. Okay, right now, let's get 100 people to rate the show today. It'd be really helpful. Spotify, Apple, wherever it is. All right, the beat dropped. We will see you next week on another episode of the Human Hope Podcast. My name is Carlos Enrique Guzman Chibo Cabello, and I am here for you. See you out on tour.